Hello. Welcome back to The Squad. Hey, Nicolette. Love that you're always here. Hope you've had a great day. I feel like we haven't done a 6 p.m. call in a while. We've been doing all the morning ones, which I love, but it's a different vibe of an evening. And I think we get our UK friends and everyone across the other side of the world just getting out of bed. So what a way to start the day. Love, love, love. We are talking about the skin's immune system today. And I have to say, while getting all the content together for this call and just kind of getting it out of my brain, I was like, far out, our skin is phenomenal. It's just, it blows my mind. So we're going to, hopefully by the end of this call, it's also blown your mind as well. Because we always talk about our skin being a barrier and then it protects us from the outside. And I think over the last probably 3 to 5 years, probably, there's been a real shift in more working towards, protect the barrier, rebuild the barrier, support the barrier, unlike what we've ever had in the past. So it's a beautiful shift, and I'm very happy that it's finally come around. But I'm not sure we fully understand what it is and what we mean when we say repair the barrier, protect the skin. Because aside from having like really healthy roof tiles to our house, have we ever really stopped to appreciate, I guess, the other factors that are involved with our skin that is constantly in play? It's happening without us even knowing, constantly in play to just make sure we're monitoring, assessing, and dealing with the impacts of day-to-day life when it comes to our skin and what it does to protect us. And honestly, what it does within like millimeters of our skin, even less, and what is happening just in our skin's ability to protect us, it's pretty mind-blowing. Which you're gonna fall in love with that today. So if you're joining me live, hi. Welcome. I love that we're here, Nicolette, just you and me hanging out. This is great. Love it when everyone's on live, and I love the interaction that we have. Here we go, more people joining in. Love. Yeah, the more energy in the chat just lights me up. Love it. If you have a question or you're watching this on the replay, please never leave without asking questions. Never, ever leave the table until you're full. That's the rules in our house. But I will say it 1,000 times and 1,000 times over, there is no such thing as a silly question. So if you're thinking, chances are there is someone else here also thinking the same thing. So asking questions is a community service. It serves the whole entire group when I'm able to answer questions for you. So don't be afraid. And if you are watching this on the replay, which will be up in, it's always quick after our calls, hashtag replay in the chat underneath, in the comments underneath the video. And please, if you've watched a video and you're like having some aha moments, your brain's firing off, or you're feeling challenged, whatever it is, please pop that under the video, even if it's on a replay, because I always come back and read and always come back and engage. So yeah, don't be shy. And if you or your business are on social media, use this to your advantage. Okay, so this is like free, easy content. Take a screenshot, take a photo of the screen. Hi. Or maybe like you've got your notes next to you and you just take like a picture of you and your notes, or something that just demonstrates to your clients that you are furthering your knowledge. You're not kind of stuck in old school ways. You're continually upgrading, learning, and growing, because this is what makes clients flock to us, when they can see that we aren't stuck in the mud, that we are shifting, growing, learning, and doing everything we can to be better for them. So this is kind of like the free cheat content that you can use to just share on your stories, or make a reel, or you might even just talk about the things you learned in a squad call that just blew your mind, or you're like, oh my god, that just makes sense. Let's not reinvent the wheel and make social media harder than it has to be. Just grab a screenshot, share it. And I love it when you all tag me. I see them and try and reshare as many as I can if I catch them. So just It's just, it's free content for your clients, basically. And we want to use every opportunity that we have to talk to them. So let's dive in. Hello to everyone who has just joined. Love seeing your faces pop up here. We are talking about the skin's immune system, and it's not something that we always think about, really, unless a client has a histamine response and it blows up in our face and we're like, what the fuck? So oftentimes our immune system is really out of sight, out of mind, and we just don't really give it a little much thought at all. So we don't always really give it the credit where credit is due, but it's constantly working for us in and within our skin. Even when we're not having that huge inflammatory response, that would be something that is a particular trigger. So first of all, what do we actually need to understand about our skin's immune system? Because I think in the industry now, because we're not just doing these fluffy treatments in the salon, and we're like hydrating the stratum corneum and the basics, like we make it look good, feel good, yes. But we're in an era in our industry where the beauty industry and the greater industry, it has a direct impact on the health and functions of the skin. You know, we know we have active ingredients and delivery systems that are getting in there, doing the things that need to be done. So we actually have the ability to create a change and work on the health and function of cells. So it's really important that we deeply understand these cells that we are working with, because I think for a long time, we just kind of have worked on, let's get the barrier functioning, let's get the skin healthy, but we don't give as much credit to these immune cells. And we're here and we're playing with these cells, and we need to learn what they do and don't like, and what it is they need to function well. So we also want to know how we're going to support this system and what to do to bolster it up, because it's not always just putting out the fire when there's a fire. It's doing all the fire safety stuff, you know, with the smoke detectors, making sure your gutters are clear. So it's all the things that go into protecting our skin, building it up, making it more resilient, and fortifying the fortress, so to speak. So we're going to talk today about how we can support that and things that are potentially undermining that as well, because with great power comes great responsibility, and that is our job, is to be the responsible skin therapists who know and understand this system well and know how to get it to sing beautifully. So before we dive into the skin's immune system, though, it's really important that I introduce you to the players, the stars of the show, if you will, and we talk about the cells that are involved and what their role is when it comes to our skin's immune system. And you might be surprised to learn that these first three guys are actually the very first part of our skin's immune defense. We always think of these guys when it comes to barrier and barrier health, but actually, if these guys fail, we're a bit screwed. So number one is our microbiome and our defense system there, and the balance or imbalance of what's happening, because our microbes that sit on our skin they're generally neutralizing pathogens, pollutants, funguses, things we come into contact. And if that's functioning really well, from the rest of the immune system, no action is required. He's up there, he's the catcher, he's got it, everyone's happy and healthy. Then we've got our stratum corneum. So we know these are the cornified cells that act like a physical barrier to block the entry of pathways so that things can't get in. So we've got our microbiome, that's our ecosystem that's, you know, neutralizing bacteria. We've got the roof tiles, the keratinocytes, corneocytes that are a physical barrier stopping things from getting in. Then we have our multilamellar lipids, and this is like the glue that holds those roof tiles together. And it's basically like the spac filler. It's filling in the gaps between all of the cells so that we have that further resistance for anything getting into the skin. So we have those three lines of defense. Now, if all this goes to plan, these three things are humming along, they're doing their job, then that's the most defense that we generally need. We don't need to activate the adaptive and innate immune system that resides within the epidermis and the dermis. However, none of us live in a perfect world, and the beauty industry is one of those worlds where a lot of people do, mostly with the good intentions, break down those first 3 lines of defense. Hands up, we have all done it in our early stages of our careers. I was like the microdermabrasion glycolic pills queen. So in my career, I have done things that have broken down the barrier, not knowing, had no idea. That's what I was taught to do. And many of us are in that same boat. So when we do that, it brings the cavalry to town. We now have inflamed skins, angry skins, upset skins, skins that are just reactive and sensitive, all of our own doing. And we also have clients who are following every TikTok trend under the sun, changing their skincare routine more often than they change their underpants, which is leading to a whole state of confusion, microbiome disorders, stratum corneum being ripped to shreds, and the multilamellar lippers absolutely being destroyed. So you can see that we have our work cut out for us, and it is safe to say we ain't going anywhere as an industry. People need us. Like, I almost celebrate when I see all these trends. I'm like, hey, more work for me. You know, I don't leave town. You're going to need me. So when we think about immune cells, we don't really think about those first 3 things, but they are key. If they're not working, this is when the army comes to town. And our minds tend to wander because we're disregarding those first 3 lines of defense, but they're vital to the function and health of the immune cells that we're about to talk about now. So let's take a deeper look at our immune cells, what their role is, how they're working, and what they're doing to support our skin. And welcome to golden hour in my office. Like, this is just my favorite time of day. Just the sun just starts to go golden and fill up my lounge room, my office. Yeah. I got my sunscreen on. We're good. So first off, mast cells. So these are the cells that famously release histamine, and basically they're ringing the alarm and setting off the sounding warning bells that something isn't right and that something's breached the first 3 lines of defense. So this is where the entire house gets woken up, lights on, dad's running down the staircase in his underpants because the smoke detector's gone off, right? Like, just think of that chaos in your house when the smoke detector goes off. Everyone has a bit of a panic. So this is that release of histamine, and this is usually happening if there's a significant breach in the skin. We know it's usually an allergic reaction, you know, for people who have hay fever and things like that. Now, anyone would wonder, anyone with hay fever, allergies, what is the benefit of histamine? Because I'm telling you now, it's like torture. Why would this be of benefit to us? You know, tears running, snots flying, everything's swelling up. But histamine is really important when it comes to our skin's immune defense, because it's essentially an inflammatory response, and it floods the area. So you'll see the skin swells, it puffs up, and that's because it's bringing a lot of fluid into the area, and on that fluid rides the rest of the immune crew. Like, how do they get there? They ride the wave in. We also get this vasodilation of the capillaries within the skin if you get that redness, and that's again more things coming from the bloodstream to help and deliver all the, I guess, the SWAT team of what we're about to go into. And then we get that itch as well, often with histamine, and that's just waking up the nerve cells and being like, ding, 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 there's a problem, can we eliminate it? So it's drawing your attention to the trigger, so to speak. So our goal is to remove the trigger. So histamine, whilst it's an allergy person's worst nightmare, it's actually our skin's best friend. It is the first thing that turns on when it comes to our immune system going through the motions. Then what happens is our keratinocytes or our corneocytes, besides being a physical barrier, what they actually do is they also release AMPs, antimicrobial peptides. And they're into like come in and start the fight. So their role is to act quickly to protect the skin barrier, and essentially we want them because they keep the skin barrier inhospitable. they make it so it's not a fun place to be. So everyone disappears to go find a friendlier home. So they're also, this is why I always talk about how we want a really healthy keratinocyte life cycle, because a healthy keratinocyte is going to be able to produce really good quality antimicrobial peptides. So hence why, if we're not good at building a skin, if we're not getting that keratinocyte life cycle perfected as best we can all the way up to the top, we're going to struggle to defend our skin, and we're going to have a skin that's susceptible to barrier disorder issues. So we've got our mast cells. They've set off the smoke alarm. Dad's running around in his jocks trying to like get the house organized. We've got the keratinocyte releasing those AMPs. Then we've got the neutrophils. So our neutrophils, these guys are like coming in straight to defense. They are here to basically destroy the pathogens. They're like, you know, part of the SWAT team. Dive in, break through the windows. What's going on? Where's the bad guys? Let's grab them, sort them out. They start getting to work before, you know, our T cells and B cells arrive. So they're just like, they're the ones that run into the emergency, and they're like, right, where's the bad guys? Let's go get them. And they're part of our innate immune system. We've had them right from the very beginning of day dot. They know their role and they ain't afraid to use it. Like, this is not something that has had to be learned. It's just like, no, genetically, that's their job. They're here, they're done. Now we move on to the Langerhans cell. And this is the cell which is like the one that most people focus on. And it's, people know more about this than the other cells that we've talked about. But our Langerhans cells, they kind of hang out at the back. They're in the dermis. They live down in there, and they'll just come in, again, like we talked about last week when we were simplifying skin. They're like the mall cop, the shopping center that just kind of, they just survey the place. They're around, they have a presence, and they'll go to where the problem is. So they'll migrate, they'll kind of head to the crime scene, and they collect the bad guys and the fragments and the pathogens. And then they're going to hand them off to the adaptive immune system. So our T cells and our B cells. So basically it's like the mall cop who has no jurisdiction anywhere outside those four walls. The police finally arrive, and then they hand them over to the police, you know, to do the thing. So this is still, again, part of our innate immune system. This is the process of how it works, because then we start, so think of the innate system, it's just like the SWAT team. They're the emergency responders. They're in, they get the job done. They start rounding up the bad guys and getting all the things happening. The Langerhans cells are also kind of given a yoo-hoo to the T cells and the B cells, and these are part of our adaptive immune system. So these are the cells that kind of come in, get everyone out of the way. Think of it like the CIA. I don't know much about the Central Intelligence Agency. However, I've watched movies, right? You know, the SWAT team are like the big burly blokes. The CIA are the ones that come in and they do the interrogation, and they do more of the investigating and learning and understanding why this is going wrong and things like that. So they come in and they actually start to commit to memory the bad guys, and they're like, next time you come, I know you. I've got you. I'm watching you. And the T cells are kind of helping to counteract. They bring the antibodies that neutralize the threat. But then the B cells are also our memory cells. So they're the cells like that build up our memory of invaders, pathogens, pollutants, and things that get into our skin and into our bodies. And they remember the antidote, or they have the, okay, I've seen you before. I know what I meant to do here. Boom, let me add it. They don't have to kind of go, oh, who are you? What are you doing here? They tend to recognize and remember repeat offenders. So being adaptive, it means that over our lifetime, they've kind of been learning and adapting to our environment and learning how to respond to counteract the threats that we come against. Then once all these guys have come in, the emergency situation is to be like, okay, we're good. Okay, the threat's no longer there, or the threat's being taken care of. In come the macrophages. And I always am like this when I'm talking about macrophages, because they're engulfing or kind of neutralizing again or cleaning up the crimes, their crime scene cleanup. If we're going with this analogy of like, you know, bad guys and SWAT teams and CIA, these guys are the crime scene cleanup. So they come in and they break down anything that's still left, any, you know, building construction site that's had a bit of a mess, and clean up the debris. And what they do is they carry it to the lymph nodes. And when they get to the lymph nodes, they're filtered, recycled, or kind of carried out of the body, depending on what it is and what they've packaged it up as. And if it's something that we can reuse and recycle, then absolutely the body's going to do that. If it's got to get out of there, it'll find its way out. Can we make a movie about this? I'm enjoying the SWAT and CIA. Sometimes I'm writing all this stuff down like, oh God, I wish I could create those little animations, because it would be make the best movie ever. Yep. So then we're going to have macrophages. We're about to talk about a cell that we generally never relate to our skin's immune defense system, the fibroblast. It is always in the conversation of collagen building, anti-aging, and we kind of are like, yeah, well, that's that cell that rebuilds our skin. But if you think about, we've just had this invasion, we've had this crime scene, we've had the cleanup, and now we need to rebuild. So the fibroblast, in the case of a skin's immune response, is still triggered to be like, okay, we need to come and rebuild the roof and rebuild the things that got broken down in the process. So he kind of hears the commotion of what's going on and gets a message that there's a bit of damage to the crime scene. And so once that immediate threat is dealt with, the demolition crew have kind of put things back down to foundations. The fibroblast kind of comes to rebuild the skin and repair any damage. And it really aids in healing and tissue regeneration, particularly when it comes to like a larger wound or an infection in the skin that's had some necrosis or had some breakdown of the skin. So of course we need the fibroblasts to come in and kind of rebuild again. But is this not the most fascinating thing like that you've ever heard? Not because of me, but because the skin is like truly phenomenal. What it does for us. Like, I feel like we need to have just a moment of gratitude. Just a moment's silence just to thank these skin cells for what they are doing for us day in, day out, and non-stop. Like, it just blows my mind that this was just all, it's just happening to us and for us. It's amazing. So one thing to think about, this isn't like a linear timeline of one thing after another, you know, like the mast cells, the keratinocytes and the AMP, then the neutrophils, and then the Langerhans, the T cells, the B cells, the macrophages, and the fibroblasts. No, it's like this symphony of it all happening in and around the same time, depending on what is needed. So that's even just amazing in itself, because it's all layers of defense are happening in different speeds. Some things happen within seconds. We know a histamine reaction can happen like that. Some people just need to scratch the surface of their skin and boom, they get that red line and that swelling. So it happens quite quickly. And even microbiome interactions, they're quite instant when our microbiome is neutralizing any pathogens or anything that we come into contact with. That's happening, you know, within moments, within hours. Some things take more minutes and hours. So our neutrophils take a little bit longer. The keratinocyte signaling is taking a little bit longer. And then other things are taking days. Our T cells, our B cells, they're going to take a lot longer to kind of come into the game, really. They're not needed straight away. The immediate response is needed. So it's all happening simultaneously, synergistically, all together at the same time. But there are a couple of things in the hierarchy of order. But I don't think we need to kind of get bogged down in that too much. Just know the skin's amazing. It's doing amazing things. It's overlapping. There's all things going on. So we can't always see that this is happening. and we can't always know what's happening when. And it's usually only if we've had a really strong histamine reaction response in our skin that we've become alerted to the fact that this is going on. But we live in a world of bacteria. So it is happening for us whether we like it or not. And it's something we should be really, really grateful for. But let's now look at what some of the consequences might be if if our system is in a bit of overdrive, or if those first 3 lines of defense are down, what is then happening? What are the consequences of having this continuously triggered immune response? Because honestly, if our security guards in our microbiome at the top of our skin are working really well, everyone inside kind of just like, they kind of want a break. They're just chilling. They're doing their thing. Oh, there's a rogue cell. There's a cell that's redundant. Let's go get rid of that. Let's do a bit of garbage disposal, a bit of maintenance around the house. But these are sort of some diagnostic cues that a continually triggered immune system is always on the go. Because if our first 3 lines of defense aren't doing their thing, instead of being on break, instead of like, oh, yeah, what's going on over there? Oh, yeah, you're good. Oh, just tidy up this little bit over here. They're constantly like in fight mode. They're like, hang on, the roof isn't doing their job. We've got to be ready for the next thing that comes in. And so there's always this heightened adrenaline of cells, or this overactivity of cells buzzing, because there's the barrier is like an off switch. And when it's open and damaged, they're on. So they're always like at the ready. So these are some of the diagnostic clues that are going to help you understand that this adaptive and innate immune system is maybe needing a little break, needs a bit of support from the barrier. Something's going on that's getting them turned on, and not in a good way. So number 1, chronic inflammation. So when the immune system is constantly activated, inflammation just becomes a chronic nature of skin. And again, it's because that barrier is always broken. And so everyone's like in fighty fight mode. They're like, come on, I'm ready. And so that can look like irritation, redness, swelling. And you'll often see this when there's a skin that has a really obvious barrier disturbance, but sometimes there's just this inflammation, like, where is this coming from? And it's just that immune system that's turned on. And the prolonged inflammation actually can create a bit of damage in the skin and hinder the skin's ability to regenerate. Because when there's this constant state of inflammation, no one cares how the roof's being built. It's just like everyone's kind of like, ah, and everyone's forgotten about the roof. And it's not always going to look like a big red angry face. Sometimes it will. When it's really bad, it really will be. Sometimes it's just something's going on, you're not quite sure what, and there's this low-lying level of inflammation. And so it could be at a bit of a cycle, comes and goes. It could be just there's a constant trigger, something in their life, something they're doing, something they're aggravating. It's like if you're allergic to something and you keep eating peanuts, right? Like it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. So it's just telling us that there is a barrier issue. We need to lock down that roof so everyone inside can just go, ah. Right, now what are we supposed to do? We're not, now that I'm not needed at attention, I can go back to just my every day-to-day maintenance. So we just need to shore them up, nurture those immune cells. They're tired. They've had enough. Next thing you might see is a compromised skin barrier. This is something we talk about often, and it's like, if you want to fix skin, just fix the barrier. Like that's the cheats code to fixing skin, I tell you. But a triggered immune system comes from a weakened skin barrier. So those 3 lines of defense, your microbiome, your stratum corneum, and the multilamellar lipids that are acting like the SPAC filler. But a triggered immune response can actually weaken the production of the skin barrier. So it's like a chicken and egg scenario. Which one comes first? Did the barrier impairment come first and trigger the immune system, or did the immune system come first and trigger the barrier impairment? It's kind of like this cycle that can happen. But essentially, if we fix the stratum corneum, work on the building blocks of that, again, it comes back to, if everyone's kind of inflamed and angry, no one's paying attention to how the roof is being built. So again, that's just going to be done with no supervisor, and everyone's kind of got all eyes over here. So if we can kind of shut down that roof, shuts down the immune system, then the focus can go back to here. We will see increased sensitivity. This is like the no-brainer. We know when a client's skin is reacting to everything. We know when a client's skin is going okay, but over time it's getting more and more sensitive. Or you have a client that comes in and goes, I've been using this brand for 10 years, I tell you, and now all of a sudden my skin reacts to it. I'm pretty sure they must have changed the formula and didn't tell everybody. Yes, that can happen. Or it's just that with every daily exposure to this and the constant breaking down of the barrier, your skin just like, that's it, I've had enough. I'm here over here making a skin barrier. I'm working hard every minute of every day to make this roof and this barrier. And you keep coming in and bulldozing it off with all that skincare that's not really skin care. And so the skin's like, well, how else am I going to get her attention? I'm going to yell and scream every time she puts it on. What else can I do? I've been trying for 10 years. She's not listening. I'm pretty sure cells don't really talk like that, but that's how I think they talk in my head. So that increased sensitivity over time, and it's going to be triggered from incorrect product use. It's going to be triggered from ingredients that aren't skin friendly, particularly like the preservatives that are destroying that microbiome ecosystem that now is the next level. Anything that's breaking down those multilamellar lipids. It can be environmental stresses, things that they're doing in their lifestyle. You know, if they're just standing under a hot shower with their face under the hot water for half an hour, chances are it's going to be a factor. Stress is another big one, because we know stress affects our immune system and our health, lots of things. But it's really, this is where, just instead of coming to work because there's an actual threat, if there's that constant sensitive reaction, we know that those immune cells aren't just on call doing their thing, doing the maintenance. They're at the ready. And often it'll be something that's not even a threat. We'll be like, oh, sorry, you can't come here. And they'll react and go, oh no, sorry, false alarm, and calm down again. But it's just that constant heightened state of like, we're ready. And they'll just be like, oh, heard a noise, quick, shoot. But the noise wasn't a threat. Like it's just that overactivity and the dysfunction and dysregulation of the immune cells. So all of the cells inside the story. So they're kind of easily spooked when a skin's really sensitive and reactive. And sometimes even the most non-spooky things will send skin into an inflammation overdrive. We know, we see it all the time. If the skin's got a really impaired barrier and you put the most soothing, calming, barrier supportive product on top, it will still chuck a shit fit, because it's no longer watching, waiting and learning. It's like punch first, you know, shoot first, ask questions later. That's what's happening when it's overreactive. Hyperpigmentation. This is one we often don't link to our skin's immune cells function. But we know the melanocyte loves a party. And a good bit of inflammation is the perfect way to get the party started. It is like, yep, inflammation's here, party's happening. So that constant overdrive and inflammation created with those immune cells, it's, again, the barrier impairment, inflammation, pigmentation, because over time that inflammation is triggering that excess melanin production. You're just like, well, everyone's overproducing, I can make cells, I can make melanocytes, just you watch. Like, and so he goes into overdrive thinking, well, if everyone else is having fun, I'm going to be having fun too. And so over time, again, it's all just a result of our skin trying to protect itself from a perceived threat. So post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, we've all seen it. We've all tried to treat it. It's a pain in the ass. It's hard to do. But think about like those really slow to heal acne marks, where that's either the redness from that angiogenesis that's happened in part of the healing process, or the pigmentation. There are some more Fitzpatrick skin types that are more prone to the pigmentation side of things, again, caused by trauma, inflammation, and overactivity of the cells. So again, whilst you might not look to the immune system for that hyperpigmentation, We've got to, or we've got to just be aware that that's happening in the background. We know we're going for the target of the melanosome, like the melanocyte. That's where our brains immediately go. But we just have to have this little bit in the back of our brain that goes, inflammation, immune system, red flags. Let's just make sure we're looking after that as well as taming the party animal. Then we have another clue, another, I guess, consequence of a skin that's triggered by inflammation is accelerated aging. Look, we know the term inflammation is kind of getting a good lap around the circuit as a marketing phrase in not so recent times, but it's funny because it's true. Like if our skin is continually in that chronic inflammation, that inflammation is eventually going to have a breakdown on the collagen and the elastin in the skin. It's going to lead to that premature aging. So fine lines, loss of elasticity, and basically with prolonged inflammation, skin that is constantly inflamed, cells that are always at the ready, things that are going on for far too long in the skin, like an inflamed skin, it's basically exhausted. It's like, oh, I just can't anymore. I'm done. And we know that when we're exhausted and we're burnt out, we don't do our best work. So a skin that is inflamed and constantly just, it's like they've just run out of puff. Like when all eyes are on the crime scene, right? And everyone's just like, the bad guys, they're just constantly over there. No one is looking at supporting the building blocks and getting that fibroblast functioning. In this case, the fibroblast is like the middle child, you know. It's just one of those things that just gets a little bit missed. So always keep that in mind. Inflammation is going to speed up this process of aging. Then we have skin dehydration, a simple, basic one. But if we have this breakdown of the barrier, then we've got this inflammation turned on, which then also inadvertently stops this from building a really good barrier. We know we're going to have transepidermal water loss. If we have got a skin that isn't watertight, waterproof, and locked down, it's the old leaky roof analogy. We're going to have that continual evaporation of the good stuff, the juicy stuff, out of our skin. And then there's the knock-on effect of that is because we know a dehydrated skin suffering from transepidermal water loss, there's leaks in the roof, it's going to lead to an impaired barrier. And do we know what an impaired barrier does? It triggers that innate and adaptive immune system. So again, chicken and egg scenario, which one comes first? They kind of go hand in hand. But if we know we've got lots of transepidermal water loss, we know that a few steps down the line, we've got a few things to get through first, but that barrier disturbance is eventually going to lead to the triggering of that mast cell. It's going to lead to the neutrophils coming in. It's going to lead to a Langerhans cell. Everyone is just then in the game. So once these things become more systemic, I guess you could say, this becomes the new normal of someone's skin, and they don't realize that there's actually this immune response happening in the skin at all times. And the only time that they start to address it is when the shit hits the fan, when they have that really strong allergic reaction or something, their skin is really breaking down. That's when they usually start to address it. And potentially that's when we as skin therapists start to address it as well, because it's like, ding, 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 ding. Oh, that's right. The immune system. I forgot about that. I've been too busy over here, anti-aging, blah, blah, blah. Haven't looked at the role that the immune system is playing. So if we looked at the skin's immune system, we need to just know what it needs to be more regulated to get it back into homeostasis. But before we get to that, let's have a look at some potential skin conditions that are somewhat directly linked. Okay, they are directly linked to our skin's immunity. The one which I feel like everyone will be screaming at the screen right now is the atopic dermatitis. It's a big one that we see, but we know that that begins with a breach of the barrier. And then we've got the skin's microbiome and the bacteria. If we don't have that balance right, some of the bad guys get in. So they're now in the house, the smoke alarms start going off. And then with that smoke alarms going off, everyone's attention is on put the fire out, put the fire out, put the fire out, and no one's building the skin very well. So it just becomes this cycle of, well, hang on, which one do we do? First, we've got to like get that keratinocyte built up, so we're building a really good barrier, get that barrier happier and healthy so that the bacteria stays out, and then we can shut off those immune cells. So again, it's a system in overdrive. We're responding to triggers that are getting through, and it's just that cycle that our clients get into. Similar with eczema, similar story. We're having a poor production of that keratinocyte life cycle, poor compaction of the corneocytes once they get to the roof. Now that creates a break in the barrier. The cycle of triggers continues, and there's that constant inflammatory response. And we know there's lots of internal things going on as well with all of these skin conditions. This isn't, as we go through these, this isn't a fix the immune system, problem solved. It's just so that we're aware that with skin conditions, it's not a one size fits all. It's not a, oh, this is the one thing that's going wrong and then everything can be fixed. This is also how you will get a bit of an idea of if you've been plugging away at this skin condition and it's just not shifting, we might need to just remind ourselves of the immune system and what's going on with those cells and maybe what do they need. Acne, bacterial imbalance with the microbiome, when the levels aren't right, you know, the good guys and bad guys. We haven't found that balance between being welcoming and inhospitable. So we end up in that inflammation cascade and like that wound healing cycle. Again, it's not the #1 cause of acne, but it's at play when we've got that inflammatory acne going on, because we know a wound, which essentially a pimple kind of is that, again, that's going to trigger the wound healing response, but also the innate and adaptive immune system. So it's not fix the immune system, acne's gone. We know there is a whole host of things that are happening. We just take that into consideration. Rosacea, we've done a deep dive on this, and we had a look at how the immune system is triggered, and the immune system even more contributes to the inability to create a really healthy barrier. So it's like inflammation starts from the bottom and works its way up, but it's also coming from the top down. So it's just, if you're seeing a lot of clients with the rosacea, go and have a little spy at that call. It's a heavy one. It's a good one. Psoriasis. If you've seen those big scaly plaques, they're quite silvery on the skin, itchy when they peel off. They're pretty awful. Again, it's a disorder of the immune system. There's things going on there where the immune system is going into attack. Again, chicken and the egg scenario, because that immune system is so inflammatory, the keratinocyte life cycle is getting left behind. Skin infections, again, all linked back to the skin's immune system. If there's an infection, there's something that's in there that shouldn't be. Think of us, the neutrophils are going to be attack. Our T cells and our B cells are going to be in there doing an interrogation, also clearing out macrophages. We want the macrophages to come in and clean up all the debris in a wound. Again, all to do with the skin's immune system. And one that's like right in your face, urticaria, hives. We know mast cells are firing on all cylinders, right? Histamine overdrive, say no more. Like that's an immediate immune response. Do you know if using Protopic for eczema is okay for long-term use on the face? Jolene, if you can tell me, I'm not, let me Google Protopic to know what it is, because that will help me answer the question. Because I'm guessing it's a tacrolimus. What is the, okay, so it's a steroid. Long-term use, yeah, we know steroids break down the skin because they're breaking down those first 3 lines of defense over time, weakening the tight junctions between our cells, and we just make a thinner and thinner epidermis over time. And so they're ideally best used as like emergent, like if you go to the emergency ward at the hospital, they're gonna fix your broken leg, but it's going to take more than that to get your broken leg to heal, right? So I think if somebody's having a very acute flare, desperate times, desperate measures, then short term 1 to 3 days max. So yes, long term, any steroid use is going to have an impact on the skin's ability to get the immune system doing what it's meant to do, get our barrier building to be what it's meant to be. And if you've ever Googled topical steroid withdrawal, you are going to run a mile from topical steroid and oral steroid use as best you can. And if you do have a client who is using this long-term on their face, this is not a cold turkey situation. Maybe we should do a call on topical steroid withdrawal. I was told it wasn't a steroid by the dermatologist. Let me just see. Protopic. Oh, sorry, I've read that wrong. Non-steroid treatment for eczema. So it depends on what the active agent is, and what it is that's actually, sorry, I just went steroid, done. Yeah, so non-steroidal, but it depends again on how that's working, what the active agent is, and how that's impacting the skin. So do a little bit of a deeper dive into that, definitely. Yeah, topical steroid withdrawal is a beast. It's a beast. Very misunderstood in the medical field. And it's something I've encountered on 2 occasions with clients, and it's a lot. Like it's traumatic, awful. Okay, so as I've said, this doesn't necessarily mean with those skin conditions we've talked about that the immune system is the cause, but it's part of the story. And the immune system is having an absolute field day whilst we're chasing something else. And they're like, you forgot about us. We'll keep going. So if you've ever been tackling particular skin conditions, or any skin condition really, and you've kind of come up against a wall, make sure you go back and think about what cells in the immune system are working, what they're doing, how they might be kind of like, they're there for good, but sometimes they're like, too much of a good thing. So just go back to base, and just have a little consideration whether you've factored that into your treatment plan, or you've just kind of gone straight for the pimples and forgotten about the inflammatory response that's happening. So as skin therapists, what is our role in all of this? What are we here for? What can we do to ensure someone's skin immune system is in like top-notch, top working order? What's our role? And if we're tackling a skin condition like we've mentioned, what can we do to sideline support the immune system and make sure they're involved in the story as well? They're part of the problem and the solution. The first step, the very first thing that we need to do is, the first thing that we need to do is create a healthy barrier. That is number one. And you will hear me talk about this until the last breath escapes my body, right? Like, it is the one thing that we are put on this earth to do as skin therapists, is to protect the skin barrier, to fortify it, strengthen it, build the most resilient skin barrier that we can. And the sad part is, it's not the cool thing in our industry. The cool stuff is all the gadgets, the whiz bang stuff, the advanced skin things. So barrier repair kind of gets this rap as being, oh, that's what you do when you don't have the cool equipment. Or barrier repair, oh, that's like, it's just seen as a weak, like, oh, that's not the powerful fun stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's just seen as this, oh, that's so holistic, bless. But if you understand skin, if you do not take anything away from this call, aside from fix the fucking barrier, then that, like, it is a one and like, it is fix the barrier, fix skin. Simple as that. However, barrier repair, it's not a one and done situation. It's like, okay, I fixed the barrier that time. Why is the skin doing this? Or, yeah, I fixed the barrier, now I can go and destroy it and do whatever I want and all the other things because I did that. No, it's this ongoing, it's daily, it's weekly, it's monthly, making sure that every cell cycle that comes through our skin system is the best it can be. We're supporting it, we're fortifying it, we're building it to be resilient. It is so important. And so our full-time job really is getting that to function beautifully, because we've already determined if we get those 3 things right, our immune system just can like take a chill pill. It can just be like, oh yeah, I'm here when you need me. You just call out. Get them mast cells to give me a call. It's something that this just then comes back to being what it was designed to be, and it's like the emergency room. It's just, okay, quick, we're gonna get this shut down so then we can go back to healthy skin. So really, we need to make sure our clients are well supported with their skincare. That is our job, to find out what they're doing on a daily basis and make sure it is forever supporting the barrier. So, you know, is there things in their skincare that is undermining this? A little sneaky, secretly digging away and just like chipping away at some roof tiles day by day, we know that's creating a breach in the barrier. So we need to know, what are their habits? What's their lifestyle? What are the influences around them? Not the influencers on the internet, although they can take a hike. But what are the things in their day-to-day influence that might be impacting their skin? You know, it could be their work environment. It could be that they, like I said before, they just stand on the hot shower with their face under the water for ages. Like we need to know what is in our clients' lives that is continually breaking down that barrier, and we need to know, can we eliminate it, or what do we need to do to support it? That's essentially our job in a nutshell. We were never told this in beauty college, right? We just figured that out as we've gone along. We also need to look at what treatments we're doing, because often we try and justify invasive treatments under the banner of advanced skin treatments. But how invasive? Like, what is the end goal? If we are disrupting the immune system, why? And what is the means to the end? Is it justified? Knowing what we know, is it ever possible to justify it? Like, it's just, I'm asking this as a rhetorical question just to our industry as a whole, because we sell clients what they want, not what they need. We sell the advanced treatments because they're more expensive, and our bosses bought the equipment, so we've got to get the money back on it. We maybe haven't understood skin very deeply in our journey as a skin therapist, so we're actually just unaware. We're unaware of what the treatment brochure that we have in our salon is actually having an impact on with skin. So I don't ask to put anyone in the spotlight and go, well, why are you doing that? Like, it's just, we've got the knowledge. Do we either ignore it, or how are we going to work with it? So it's just, there's also the flip side, right? What treatments do we do that fortify the skin barrier? I've got a little list. We're going to go through it just to kind of think about what's good and bad, or what's justifiable and what's potentially not. But yes, what are our treatments in our clinic that are fortifying that barrier, that are supporting those first 3 lines of defense, so that the immune system can just be like, yep, here when you need us. Are we going in? Coach, do I need to go in? Send me in. So we'll talk more about this shortly. We want to, as a skin therapist, maintain the skin's hydration, because this will create a really healthy ecosystem and platform for our microbiome. If we've got beautiful hydration, we've got plump, juicy cells, we've got beautiful multilamellar lipids that sit between the cells, we've got just everything in the skin can flow. Things can flow in and out and around the cells. Hydration is just the foundation of a healthy skin. So in our treatments, what are we doing? Are we doing things that dehydrate the skin? What and why, and for how long, and for what purpose? Or are we hydrating the skin? Are our clients drinking water? Like, there's skincare 101, right? Amigas, water, sunscreen. But again, we know hydration creates a really healthy skin barrier, and that is the goal here. I know it sounds like crunchy. It's not like the get in, get it done stuff, but it's the biology of skin and what it needs. We need to, as a skin therapist, also work to create a really healthy microbiome. Amazing microbiome. We want to build it strong. We want to build it happy and healthy. And we've done a whole call on the microbiome. I've got my old glasses on, so I can't read it from here to tell you what number it is, but we have done a call on the skin's microbiome, and like that was like a fall in love with skin moment, to think that the ecosystem that isn't even our skin cells, it sits on our skin cells, can have such a profound impact on the health and function of our skin. Again, it is like the number one, the skin's first immune system. It's that, you know, neutralizing of bacteria and the bad guys, but it's such an important skin, and we need to have that microbial balance. We need an ecosystem that pounces on the bad guys, neutralizes the baddies, you know. That is our ultimate skin protection. So what are we doing with our skincare with our clients? Because topical skincare is the biggest interference, really. You know, are we using preservative heavy products that, we know preservatives kill bacteria, but we're made of bacteria. So it's just having a little think about these things. And if these are the things to kind of chase, if we're not getting somewhere with skin, it's like, oh, I forgot about that bit. Let me go back and figure out what I can do there. So again, strong microbiome is going to help to shut down that innate immune system as well. We want to increase our skin's anti-inflammatory cytokines. We know, so that's the storm of inflammation, okay? We know omega-3 is great for this. So whether you have it as a supplement, amazing, all clients should be on it for various reasons. But again, another tick for how amazing omega-3 is. There's also topical skincare ingredients that are high in your omegas that are going to, again, put that on topically, help with barrier. But what about ingredients that we know are brilliant for inflammation? We want our niacinamides, our green tea, our aloe vera. What else have we got? Zinc. Vitamin C is great, ceramides, all of those things that are going to help create more of those anti-inflammatory cytokines, not the inflammatory cytokines. They're just going to just turn that system down and turn that inflammation off. So think of what is in your toolkit that is going to help you calm that inflammation. So they're the things we want to be doing. How are we going to be doing it? Let's have a look at what services are going to, and treatments are going to help. Rosie, did you recommend a book for rosacea? It cut out then. There is actually a call in the squad library that we have done on rosacea. It's a little far back. Skin talk rosacea. Call number 23. So if you head back to that one, it will tell you. Just quickly looking for the microbiome. That was my chair that squeaked, not my bum, by the way. It's not going to do it now. There we go. I don't know if you heard it, but it was like squeaky. Wasn't a fart. So yeah, go. The library is where it's at. I talk about it like I built it. Okay, what services and treatments will help with skin? Our two hands, massage. Massage, it's amazing because it's stimulating the lymphatics. It's clearing out the lymphatic system. It's getting all the stuff flushed through and out of the skin. So it's helping the cleanup process of the macrophages and getting things kind of moving. So I know it's not the powerful, fancy stuff. And yes, massage is having a bit of a revival at the moment. It's so key important, but you'll often find like the therapists who are working in like device heavy clinical environments are like poo-poo, the fluffy stuff. But I've come to embrace the fluffy because the more I fall in love with, and I don't think it's possible, but I'm sure I made it to fourth base with skin cells, like love it. The more I see that going back to the basics is actually the best thing. So massage, amazing. Hands up if you have LED. It is like a beautiful tool at our disposal that we think of it as like, oh, well, let's treat acne or let's build collagen. But actually, LED wavelengths, we know it's anti-inflammatory. We know it's calming things down. Yes, there's some stimulating aspects to it, but it's promoting that tissue repair. It's promoting the calming of skin. It's getting the cells into cellular homeostasis so that they're able to do their jobs properly. We're going to build a much better skin barrier if that mitochondria has been energized by that LED wavelength and that cell is like humming along. Love, love, love. And it's also at some wavelengths can be antibacterial on the skin as well if we've got, you know, we're a bit too heavy on the bad guys. This one I'm often challenged on. I get asked this a lot on Instagram, but skin needling. Because everyone thinks that it's really quite harsh, that it's creating trauma to the skin. Again, this is one of those, can it be justified? And I hand on heart, Scout's honor, 100%, with all of the research and learning I have done, wholly and solely believe that it is actually of extreme benefits to the skin. We've done some calls on skin needling. Again, that's going to be a little bit further back. It's in the 2022 archives from memory. When I went to the conference in Turkey, we did that one. But skin needling, it kind of feels like it's the opposite because it's triggering inflammation in the skin. However, what it's also doing is triggering growth factors, specifically for at a certain depth, epidermal growth factors. And we know those growth factors are vital in not only the skin creating a really healthy keratinocyte life cycle, it kind of whips them into shape, pokes them with a sharp stick and goes, wait, get back to that keratinocyte life cycle and do it to your best ability. But epidermal growth factors also normalize every cell function that's happening within the epidermis. So it's creating and normalizing the function of every cell within the epidermis. Epidermal growth factor is amazing. The more we can get it, the better. So we're also triggering growth factors that are really critical in supporting the skin's immune response to damage. So yes, we're triggering a momentary wound healing response, which does activate a lot of our immune cells. It's in a really positive way. So it's one that obviously we're not going to use that on a skin that is struggling. You know, we're not going to use it over dermatitis. We're not going to use it on something that's someone that's chronically inflamed. We're going to work on getting that under control first. We're not going to needle on a skin whose immune system is going hammer and tongs. They're like this. We're just like, it's not actually going to be a benefit to the skin if we're just pouring fuel on the fire. First, we want to actually get those cells, the barrier repaired, so that immune system goes back to like just hanging out and it just comes out when it's needed and ready. And we want those immune cells to not be like reactive on a hair trigger, so that when we do come in and we go, hey guys, sharp stick here poking you, I'd really love you to come into the match, get into the game, they go, oh yeah, no worries, we've been practicing for this, we're ready for it. And not like, I'm exhausted, I haven't slept in 3 weeks because the inflammation is just going on and on and on. So I will bat for that team, skin needling every single time. Hydrating facials. We might think this is the fluffy stuff, but if again, we're hydrating the skin, we're getting that stratum corneum nice and hydrated, we're giving the skin topically and internally the hydration that it needs to create a really beautiful, plump, plush, I guess a river flowy cell into cells and out of cells. It's like a turgid, like, I don't know what this is, but it's just everything moves beautifully in a well hydrated skin. There are more services, but have a look at what is on your menu that you can go, oh yeah, that the way this works actually supports this, or this way this works is actually it's not supporting that so much, so I need to be mindful of when, if and where I use that. So we need to look at maybe on the flip side what treatments might be compromising the skin's immune system, and looking, this is mostly also what clients are doing at home. Like clients are their skin's worst enemy. Like they're guessing the game and everything. But over exfoliation and astringent. So I'm talking about like peels, microdermabrasions, scrubs. like everyone's going to say everything in moderation. Yes. Look, I used to do microdermabrasion, hand on heart. I think it's one of those machines that needs to just fall off a cliff because again, it's not a controlled damage. We are really taking off too much of that skin's protective barrier, and we're creating micro damage into that stratum corneum. I'm talking like apricot scrub. We all know what that's doing, but harsh scrubs, chemical exfoliants, peels, consistency and overuse absolutely are going to be compromising the skin's immune system, because that constant disruption of that skin barrier, the removing it quicker than our biology can replace it, leaves that skin more susceptible. It just means those first 3 lines of defense aren't doing their job. So the immune system is like, bing, 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 we're on. What's happening? So again, immune cell system activation, we've got chronic inflammation and possible potential, probably immune system exhaustion. They're like, oh my God, here we go again. What is she doing out there? Just stop. Overuse of retinols. We know that people are going to have a retinol reaction if they're overusing. It's too strong, it's too much, it's too inflammatory. The pathway is just not working for that client's skin. So we know it creates inflammation. It's going to create that dry, scaly, impaired skin barrier. So that again, trigger of inflammation. And we know that there is a thinning of the epidermis. There's studies, it says, it thickens and plumps up the dermis, but if we're in a constant state of inflammation from that overuse of retinoids, it doesn't matter how plump your dermis gets, because that epidermis is really struggling. And the benefits of retinol isn't going to be effective because the skin's in a trauma response. So it's just going to be like, retinol what? Sorry, hello, can you see what's happening here? Priorities. So again, they can increase inflammation and just temporarily compromise the skin's ability to build a barrier, which will trigger the immune system. Heat-based treatments. We've talked about clients sticking their face under a hot shower. Heat is the Langerhans cell's worst nightmare. It will go burrowing back down to that dermis and be like, oh, it's way too hot up there. It's like a redhead. I ain't going out in that sun. So it's going to go back down to where it feels safe or it's not under threat. He's not in a rush to come out and get blasted with heat. So then again, if we don't have that Langerhans cell coming into the dermis as quickly because it's just hot up there, into the epidermis, it's hot up there, then he's just going to hang back till it's like safe for him. So we know then he's not calling on the T cells and the B cells, and that's not triggering the macrophages to come in and clean up the healing stage. So what are we doing with heat-based treatments? Are we lasering people? Why are we lasering them? How much, is laser resurfacing having an impact on this? Hell yeah. I mean, I know that's probably not within our scope of practice, but if we're doing anything that's heat-based ablative, back in the day, it was those thermage things where there was like a set like a rock and your skin heated up. Or there's those like we were talking in the salon the other day, actually. Katie, you're on here. We're talking about something that was like a thermage heat-based response in the skin. That's going to trigger your immune system, but it's also going to hinder it because they're going to wait until the fire's out before they come in and solve the problem. So yes, this isn't a comprehensive list. We've all got so many different things in our salons, but it's now understanding what, why, when, where, and how we're doing things, and if we should be doing things. And if we are doing them, what are we doing to support the immune system, because we know it's going to have an impact. So it's really looking at, just because the beauty industry told us this treatment should be done, or well, that's what it does, it fixes this, but at what cost? And what are we causing a compromise in the skin that's then going to hinder the healing capacity of the skin after that treatment? So yes, it's a lot, but can you just see how freaking amazing our immune system is? Like, I am so deeply in admiration for what our cells do, and we don't even ask them, right? It's just fascinating. So I hope this call has helped you fall head over heels in love with the skin's immune system, but it's also got you thinking about our role as skin therapists, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and to also remember that the immune system is part of the story with every skin condition, with everything that's going on. And I guess it just, again, if we get that barrier repaired, barrier sorted, and our immune system isn't angry and inflamed all the time, we get to go and do more of the fun stuff, the more intensive stuff, because we know we're not over stimulating. We're not putting that immune system into dysregulation. Any questions? any aha moments? Is there anything in here that you're like, never thought about that? Or we've gone to the Langerhans cell, but we've never gone as far as all the other cells and systems involved. So let me know, because I'm going to sign off and let you get to your dinner, to your evening, get started in your day, wherever you are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on to the live. Oh my God, I just love hanging out with you guys. And if you're watching this on the replay, which will be up very shortly, dig into the comments, get into the chat, tell me what you're thinking and what's going on. But wherever you are, whatever you're doing, may you go out there, hunt hares, fondle faces, save skins, change lives. It's what we do best. And now we can do it knowing that our immune system is part of the story. Thank you. Thanks, Nicolette. My pleasure. You did say internal help. Yes. To dive back to that, so many internal things that we can do. Again, diet, nutrition, omegas, water intake, good sleep. Most skin conditions come back to the same things: healthy lifestyle, good diet, good nutrition, and a lot of things will resolve. Okay, I'm out. Thank you. I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye.